Hello everyone. Uh, Hi
Hi
Nirali,
Tushar, how are you?
I'm fine. Hello Shivani.
Hi, Tushar.
Hi.
Hi.
So let's start. People are joining, so
Okay.
slowly they will join. So yeah, so we have today, as you know, UX Talks is the second season, and this is the second episode we are doing. So we have a very special topic, a very interesting topic on branding and content. It's very unique combination we have, and uh, 1 minute. I'm just admitting people they are joining. So yes, so before we start, I will just give small, take few minutes to uh, talk about UX talk itself. Uh, so basically, UX talk is started, I said, no, during last year. In COVID, we started this activity as initially as some webinars. Then it is going. We added. There are a lot of good speakers we have on the board, and this series is go on. So almost we have 20 plus speakers on different topics, and we have covered. So design, keeping design in the center, we conducted this UX talk. And last December, we have conducted our last UX talk, which is on AR and VR. Uh, since then, there are a lot of people are actually demanding let's start second season, and hopefully I started this second season. So today we have two speakers with us. One is Nirali Parekh and Shivani Shah. So today's topic is like they are talking about the content, and I will just request please mute. Yeah, thank you. So, so we have Nirali with us, Nirali Parekh. She is founder and one design studio in Mumbai. So Vocab is a studio, and I think last 15 years she is working as a founder. She is very much in design, very long. She has done her design education in Savannah University, USA. So very much into design from very starting. She has worked few companies earlier as a designer, then as a leader, and I think 13 years back, if I'm correct, she started her own company
Yeah.
in studio,
Yeah.
and so far she has done very good as a client basis, and she has done very good in design front. So we will hear more about from her itself, her story. Also, we have a Shivani with us. She is a content writing and strategist. She has done a lot of branding activities so far. She's also well experienced and done a lot of good projects with her. So we'll also like her. We like to hear her story. So let's start with Shiva Nirali. That you can introduce us with your journey, and then Shivani also you also, right? So let's, because I
Yes.
believe everyone's journey is inspirational. So how you started, because there are a lot of youngsters are coming in this industry as a designer, as a content writing. So for them, your both journey is very interesting. And we can please start.
Yeah. So thanks Tushar and thank you for this platform. So I'll give a little bit insight on how I became a designer and then a little bit about vocab design. So, typically in India, I mean, I was always a creative person in school. It was always art as a subject that I had pursued. And then when I was choosing how I would like to incorporate the creative arts in as a career, graphic design as a field was introduced to me, and I chose to study abroad at the Savannah College of Art and Design. um, there was a difference. In India there was more commercial art, and in the US it was packaged as graphic design, where we were learning a lot on computers. So I did my undergraduate at Savannah College of Art and Design, where I was introduced to all of the things that I am offering today as a studio, including web design. At that point, it was web design. The term UX UI design is relatively new, but the foundation of working with interfaces definitely started while I was in college. And post graduation, I worked in New York, I worked in Atlanta, both in corporate communication as well as publishing. And then somewhere around 2009, when what I'd like to call, there was a reverse brain drain that was happening, and a lot of uh, American educated Indians were coming back to India, uh, to for various reasons, economy globally being bad being one of the reasons. I made that decision to come back to India, mainly because I wanted to always come back, to the country and bring my design education and implement it in the projects that I could offer Indian clients. So I set up my company in 2010, and yes, since then, so we provide branding and tech solutions. We work with companies to help them launch, reinvent themselves, or market themselves. And it's been 11 years. In 11 years, we have delivered more than 400 projects for over hundreds of domestic and international clients. Some popular brands we have worked with are McDonald's, JLL, Citibank, MyGlam, amongst others. And we work with clients, a lot of startups, actually, in helping them position themselves, their logos, content strategy, packaging, app designs. And yeah, and then that's how Shivani and I met as well. So I'll let Shivani give a bit of an introduction of herself.
Sure, sure.
Sure. So, hi. So, I also studied abroad. I studied communication, and I got my start in writing in print. So, when I was in university, I worked on the university's newspaper as an editor for 3 years. So, there was print writing at that time. Then I came home immediately after graduation, and again, I worked in print. I worked with a music magazine in Bombay. Then, after that, I actually took a detour and I became a lawyer. So I was in law for 8 years, but I continued to freelance write along with it as best as I could, keep the two up together. And that was still print. That was writing for, companies and brands, but things like brochures and catalogs and things. And then I met Nirali through friends one day, and we realized that we have these two different but complementary skill sets that work really well together. And we said, hey, let's work on something together. This was around 6 or 7 years ago. I was considering quitting my law job at that time because I wanted to write. And so Nirali and I worked together on a few projects on and off. And eventually I did quit my job to become a writer full time. And we've been working together now regularly for a few years. So
Correct. I think, as I always said, that everyone's journey is very inspirational for, and as youngsters, they are, they have to follow everyone's journey basically. So yes, coming back to our today's topic, right? As your topic, as about designing and branding and the content. So first of all, let's start with some basic questions. What is you mean by branding itself, and what is the content is meaning, and how how you set the tone of your project. How so basically, let's start from basics first, because our audience they are like a mix. They are either from a designing or they are either from a decision makers. So and today's agenda is something like at least we can bring that some basic queries so that they can take this as a career or they can build up their career around these two things. So we
Okay.
can start with on this thing.
Okay. So I'll give a small, just simply break down what is branding. So branding is essentially a process of creating a very strong positive perception of a company, the company being the brand, its products or services in the customer's mind. So essentially we're defining a personality of the brand, and then using that personality, using that strategy, we're combining elements such as a logo, design collaterals, mission statement, and a consistent theme, whether it's visual or written or spoken, a consistent theme throughout all marketing communications. So
yeah, so I mean, as Nirali mentioned, there's all these different elements that go into branding. And before you even start all of that, there's some of the behind the scenes company things, like what are your values, your mission, and your purpose. And these lay the foundation of for everything going forward. Who you are, what you do, why you do it. So you need to articulate these things first to help define yourself as a brand, both for yourself and so you can decide how you're going to present yourself to the world.
Okay.
So this is how where we work collaboratively together to understand the client. We spend a lot of time with them initially, and then we use the knowledge that we have gained from the client to then put together a branding strategy.
Okay. So for to create this branding strategy, so is there any guidelines you follow? Like so for a particular client, or
Um,
yeah.
so it's very difficult to give like a one size fits all strategy because branding, it's a very broad topic. So but what
Mm,
we like to follow is a process that gets applied, a unified process that gets applied to all our clients, whether it's a website, whether it's a mobile application,
mm,
or it's a branding project that gets ultimately converted in, like for a product, a physical product. So what we typically do is we start with a workshop style discovery session for our clients to understand their business goals, what their service is, or their product is, understand their target audience. We ask a lot of questions, and it's the questions are not only factual, but for our knowledge, but it also helps the client gain clarity on what they want and what they want to achieve, both on their goals and who they are talking to.
okay. So is there any difference? Suppose now as we for tech products, so for web or for mobile. So is there any strategies you have to make different, or there is the same way you are planning? Because see, as company and as a designer, if I'm a web designer, something I have something in something different questionnaire maybe I have. And as a designer, I'm afraid many times designer is not someone who actually talking to the customer. So through some content writer or through some salesperson, he communicate with the designer. So how designer will create these strategies, for web, or is there any different approaches you take, or there is one standard process that one should follow?
So I'll start off with asking, just kind of continuing to where I started, and then
Yeah.
I'll let Shivani talk about the content strategy specifically. So in our team specifically, the reason why we are a lean team is so that nothing gets lost in translation. So we're very non-hierarchical. So our team of designers, content writers, everybody is involved in the client briefing from day one. And the reason why this has worked for us is that nothing is lost in translation. And um, from brand positioning to final execution of the design, everybody understands very clearly what is the personality of the brand or the product that we are working with. Everybody understands very clearly who is the target audience. So we're able to, and then of course, the first step of anything, whether it's a website or a mobile app, if of course the client requires that as part of their service that we're providing them, is to come up with a brand positioning. So once we've come up with a positioning, we've understood their personality, we've understood, and Shivani will talk more about that part. But it's very important that we work together, because together we're able to then form strategic solutions, whether it's content or design. Shivani, you want to just touch upon the
Yeah, I
content?
think, yeah, sure. I mean, one thing that is common to any content strategy, no matter what your product is that your strategy has to serve your customers. So it's not about what you do, it's not about you, it's about what you do for your customers. It's about what your customers are looking for. So, in every place that you have to talk to them, you have to anticipate their needs and their questions and answer these questions before they even ask them. So it's very important to talk to your customers while creating your brand strategy and your content strategy. And you can do this by involving someone outside of the branding process. If you have an existing brand, you can involve your current customers. If there's somebody who would be willing to talk to you, you could just do a focus group. You could talk to potential customers, do a survey, or just someone from a different team who's not involved in that, who's not involved in the day to day. Ask them to read your content or your wireframes or whatever stage you're at. Ask them to go through it and then come to you with whatever questions that they have. So then you know that these are the gaps and you need to fill them in. And the important part of this is that you're doing all of this so that you've put your customer in mind. The customer is in focus when you're doing this, and they should not leave your website or your app confused or looking for more.
Yes, I think you have just explained the actual UX process here, because we always talk about, you have to keep user center or customer center. I think this is a good inside for the beginners also, they want to, because there is always a confusion, even UX process itself. And when you talk about branding and the content, then people see like designers, they get more confused. Means, like, that leads to my second next question, what skill sets basically required? So any particular, say, one typical designer is there, or maybe some typical, who is good at languages, basically, because there is something there is one skill set are coming, we call as a UX writers.
Mhm.
So is there the role of UX writer in a branding, or what skill set you are looking, or when you hire someone, okay, in your team as a designer, okay, so what skill sets you are looking in this thing?
So I'll talk from a design, branding and design point of view, and I'll let Shivani talk about content. What I look for in someone is you know, a person who's willing to explore and continuously learn. They have to be very curious. So, of course, hygiene factor is that they have good skills, design skills. They're creative. They know the tools, the softwares well, and they understand the simple process. But everything else, to be honest, like even us, for example, we went to college so long back. The softwares we learned were different. Some of the processes that were employed back then are different from what UX UI, there were no mobile apps back then. So even from us, what is important is there's a continuous learning curve. And what I look for someone is someone who's curious, someone who's willing to continuously read blogs, listen to podcasts, understand what is trending globally, continuously learn about even human psychology, because ultimately whatever we are executing, whether it's a design or content, we are doing it to convert, right?
Right.
We're working on something so that a user is able to engage, a user is able to act. So the skill set that I'm looking for essentially is someone who can very well, besides of course software, I'm keeping that out of it, I'm keeping their design skills out there, someone who's curious, someone who is able to get into the minds of the business owners and the users and execute solutions for them. It's not about us. And just understand that whole thing.
Right.
Yeah. So from a content point of view, I'd say that, the basic skills that you need are, firstly, you need to be a good listener and a good researcher. You need to, as I said, you need to listen to the questions that your audience is asking, but also try to infer what they want to know, but they have not been able to verbalize and ask you. You need to be able to write simply. It's not about jargon. It's not about, using big words. Use your simple words, use simple sentences, and also present your ideas simply, instead of large paras, just short, simple paras that are easy to understand, easy scannable text like headlines and bullet points and things like that. You should be able to visualize essentially um, whether what you're writing is going to be easy for the reader to consume or not. And, speaking of a reader, I think it's very important, if you want to write, that you need to be a reader. And it doesn't matter what you read as much as you can, whether that's things in your industry or also just, fiction, if that's what you enjoy. Um, if you like, keep a dictionary with you, so that if there's a word that you don't understand, look it up on the Kindle. You can just touch it. If you're reading a physical book, keep a dictionary so that you can understand the context in which the word is being used. Because again, like Nirali said, that is something about always learning. With everything that you're reading, you're continuing to learn. But I'd say actually the most important thing is that you need to be comfortable writing badly, because the first draft of anything that you write is going to be terrible. That's the nature of
Right.
a first draft. There's no ego in that. It's going to be terrible, and you need to be okay with that, because you're going to spend a lot of time editing that really bad writing and creating that final polished piece. So just get comfortable writing rubbish, essentially.
Great. I think, that is something that we have to learn. So same questions I will extend on this. So whoever want to come as a designer, as a graphic designer, or as a content writer. So what the upcoming talent is, we have huge talent. And I am also in some of colleges we go, in So they are huge talent, definitely. So, but I feel there is a problem of they have to correct channelize their thing. So what you suggest, what what is the advice for you is for as a when they take up a design as a career, as
So
because you deal with some international brands and so what they are, I mean, what they have challenges they are going to face and how they have to tackle those. So,
So one of the things that, while I've been hiring both freshers and experienced designers now for 11 years. And what I noticed is uh, this is not, it's not common to all, but, certain colleges, depending on where they go, they are taught technical skills. And technical skills are great because ultimately you're going to execute projects using a particular software. But sometimes what I feel lacks, and maybe there is an opportunity there for designers today, is to think strategically and to start visualize. So, and to be a visualizer, because um, that is actually more important, because if you're just a designer who's going to take somebody else's ideas and just work on a software, your growth is not going to be that much. You'll always end up being somebody else's executor. So the real growth I feel is if any student or any designer in the market can start um, working more strategically. I used to always tell my designers, like, if you don't think of user experience, if you do not think about the business, if you don't think about and getting into the depth of the business that we're working with, and start thinking more solutions, start thinking beyond just how is this going to look, then you have kind of put yourself in a different bracket. So the advice I would give is, um, if you've not been taught this in college, there are lots and lots of online courses available out there. You don't sometimes even free courses. There are a lot of design studios globally also that are putting content out there for people to learn the processes of branding. How do you think, what kind of questions to ask clients, what kind of um, how do you, because ultimately it's in some sense it's a science as well, right? Once you ask basic questions to the client, you're understanding that, you're putting together their personality, you're trying to uh, you know uh, put a strategic solution together, which then can be used towards a better design. So for example, uh, you know I like to say, like, if you're selling shoes, like, you look at imagine everybody is selling shoes and everybody is technically working in a similar design. What is the differentiation, right? The differentiation is the personality of the brand. Like a Nike and an Adidas are completely different personalities, and that personality is what makes a consumer choose one over the other based on what they identify. So it's very important to, as a designer, to understand that you're not designing something only to make it look good. You're designing something based on what is right for that target audience and what is right for that business. So it's, I mean, I like, there's a lot available. My advice is go beyond just design and start thinking about the business, start thinking about the consumers.
yeah.
Yeah, from a content point of view, I'd say, I have worked with a lot of writers who are not trained as writers. They are doctors, they're, just nothing to do with writing, and they are fantastic writers. But the one thing that they all had in common is that they read a lot, and they always read a lot. And I don't think you can write unless you read. So just read a lot. It doesn't matter what you're reading, like I said, whatever you enjoy, but also read mindfully. So if you're reading, say, a blog post, or there's a website, a landing page that you like, or a book, once you're done with it, go back again and see what drew you to it. What is it about this that you like? Is it the words and the language that they use? Is it the structure? Is it clear? Make notes on it. Keep something that's known like as a swipe file, essentially, where these things that you like, you save them for you to go back and reference later with your notes. Okay, I like this because XYZ. Um, you know, write, create your own portfolio. Now with, you can easily just have a free WordPress blog if you like to, publish what you write. There are so many, you can have creative writing prompts. You can, there are UX writing prompts. There are free classes that you can do. You can just write whatever you want. Keep a journal if you like, and just write. it doesn't have to be daily. I know everybody says write every day, but realistically, if this is not your day job, you may not be able to write every day, but write. And the more you do it, the better you are going to get at it.
Right. I think that is good suggestion from both of you. Right? So I think learning is we have to keep continuous because every day new technology is also coming. So we have to keep always on alert and fresh. So now let's come to our some of the core question. So what basically any project, how you build a strategy or what is your process, you follow. So there is one project which is coming for branding, then how this branding and content comes together. As our topic says, content is not should not be at the end. So what kind of a process you apply, so that maybe you can explain that way. So this is a core today's our agenda also.
So we work in a very strategic way. So I'll give you an example of what used to happen back in the day. Back in the day, you had content writers and you had web designers, and then you had web developers. Client would talk to either one of the three people, and the work would start independently. Somewhere along the process, they would engage a content writer to independently write content. They would write like one entire Word document full of content for different pages, hand it over to the designer, and the designer would then design based on it. There was no communication between a designer, content, and the client. There was no understanding for all three of them to understand what is the right solution for this product, what is the right solution for this website we are working on, and what would engage the audience, their customers. So with the way we work and with UX now being at the forefront is uh, uh, to have all teams working collaboratively together. So like we mentioned before, the first step is you know as many times as possible, uh, have discovery calls with the clients, try to, so that's what we do. We talk to our clients. We have a set of questions that we prepare based on that business to understand the business in detail. We ask a lot of questions about their customer. We ask a lot about their past, their journey, what brought them to this point. We ask questions about their goals. Where do they see themselves, the product or the business going forward? We ask about what motivates their clients to be customers of that product or the business. So we ask a lot of questions. Shivani, I'll let Shivani talk about what happens next, but
Yeah.
she's more involved in the next step.
Sure. So, I mean, as Nidali said, you don't want things to get lost in translation. And that's why it's very important for your content team, even if it's just like, if you have a larger team and it's one person, your lead, have someone from the content team present in the process and in the conversations from day one, in the discovery calls, in the interviews, because they need to understand the brand and the goals, because your content has to be, user-centric and goal-centric. If you are doing like a rebrand or like if you already have existing content, do a content audit, see what you have, what is useful and you can still use, what you don't need, what you don't have and you need to add. Then also look at the existing content. Does it sound like your brand, what you've defined, the brand strategy or your tone of voice? Does it sound like your brand? Is it uniform? Do all the pages, do all the articles sound the same, or do they sound like they are written by different people? This will help you understand what works, what doesn't, what needs to be changed, and what can stay as is. Try to map out the user journey and understand what the user's goals are. Why have they come to your website and your app, and how can you give them what they're looking for with your content? After that, I'd say, let your content and UX teams, they will obviously be working separately because they're working on different aspects, but let them communicate even while they're working on their own aspects of the project. So if they have questions, they should just, feel free to ask each other. If you don't want this ad hoc communication because it might feel a little chaotic, then have regular check-ins with the content and the UX team so that nobody is caught by surprise if someone decides to change direction at any point, for whatever reason. And also, I think it's very important to keep iterating, especially at the wireframe stage. So if you've got this content in the wireframe, and then when you look at it, you realize that, oh, I need more content, or I need less content, or the wireframe can be adjusted to make the content look better, etc. do that together and at the wireframe stage so that you're not making changes and delaying projects when you're like deep into the design stage.
So I'll take a step back from what Shivani was saying. One of the parts of the process, once we've spoken to the client, we've understood what we crafted a positioning for the client. We've understood, okay, you know what, whether it's I'll put it in context. We were working on a client in the US. They are an HR consultancy firm. They've been operating for a very long time, and they came to us saying, you know what, I want to reposition how I communicate myself to my clients, and ultimately I want a website. That the end goal was a website. So what was most important at this point was for us to understand her business, her audience, and herself. How does she talk as an HR professional? How is her, what is her persona? She is an expert, she's been doing this for 25 plus years. So we had to package her first, give her a personality, hence we had to give the brand a personality. Once we defined that, we understood her services. What were the different services that she offers, and uh, what else would her customers need to know in order to engage with her. So once we've defined the personality, the next step was to create a site architecture for the website and break down the pages that are required, the services, what should be the correct way to categorize the different pages, in your main navigation, for example. Once that is done, Shivani and I, as content leads and design leads, would then say, okay, we have all of these pages uh, that we have defined. For each page, what should our strategy be? For homepage, how do we want the user to experience this brand from start to the end, if that's how they're coming to the website? Because users may come from many different pages, right, because of search engines. But we literally break down every single page and create a content strategy for the page. And we actually start with content, because if we don't have the right content, then we're not providing the right design solutions. Sometimes, for example, if on a homepage you decide you want to start, for example, with a mission statement, or values, or you want to talk about products and services, we need to know how much content is going to be put for those places, right? And then based on that, we're going to be working on the wireframe and defining the structure of the wireframe. So this process is very iterative, like Shivani said, and there's a lot of back and forth saying, okay, this is too much content, or let's cut it, or you know what, icons and a list is not doing justice to this information, let's put it as a paragraph. So there's a lot of iteration at this stage to create the wireframe. Once the wireframe is,
sorry, go ahead. I'll add
yeah,
something when you're done.
no, so once the wireframe is created, then both of us, the content team, the design team, and the client has a good idea of what the user's journey is going to be in a page and the entire website.
Yeah, so I was just going to add that, while it is definitely content led, it doesn't mean that the content team has to write the entire first draft and give it to the design team to put in the wireframe. It could just be as simple as, the content team sits down with the design team and says, okay, these are the points that we need to cover on this page. This is the hierarchy of information. This is how we're going to do it. I need 75 words here. I need 50 words here. This is going to be just a tagline, etc., etc. So at least the UX team has an idea of what the page will be structured like. And the UX team and content team can start working in parallel. So they both have an idea of what their restraints are and what their freedoms are, instead of, waiting for all the pages to be actually written before you start designing them.
Yeah, I think what you are saying, it is definitely correct. And because when we learn information architecture, that is something we follow in UX. So in all literatures, we found that, who is the best team member, or who's the best friend in your office for UX is a content writer. So I think this is something, because end of the day, if some reworks comes, then obviously then both designer and content writer has to sit again. And many times we have to go start from a zero. Because developer will straight away, they will put in hands. Okay, हमको क्या है ना, it is like you are the one who is giving us. We are just developing. So yes, I think ownership for that UX and content writer. Now, as we are talking about few already, I think we discussed few terms about UX itself. Uh, some few words already, we phrases we use from a UX field. Uh, Now, see, as in see in IT companies basically, not from the companies whose are design studios, because in visualizing company, the I think design process are correctly followed. Okay, because their designers are given much more value and even, but in IT sector, which are typically we have a process oriented things, and we so there are people follows like project management processes, like as I said, agile development or waterfall development. So now question is like, how you will fit this UX roles, and how where you see this, because the company which not having this kind of processes. So still this is very important, obviously, but how you will fit the UX, in the entire process. I think I already, you have covered few points there in earlier answer, but still, there is a UX driven company and not a typical design studio. And I'm sure all our audience which coming from a IT background, they are suffering same issues. So you can guide on that things. Yeah.
So, I think what you're trying to say is IT companies which may not necessarily have a design team or a UX
Yeah.
design on board or a
Yeah.
content writer, right?
Because
So,
yeah.
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 So we have actually experienced this a few times where companies who only have a IT team, they don't have any designers, they start building products. And developers, developers think very differently and designers think very differently.
Mm.
So the product that they put together is not necessarily incorrect. They are taking care, they're building the product based on functionality. That once a user comes, ye karna hai, ye karna hai, ye karna hai, and exit. So they are building the product based on function, and we've also had a lot of clients come to us with a working product, like where the business or management has worked with their developers and built an entire product out, and they're like, okay, this is working, but now can you make it look good? It's happened to me so many times. And I request them, I'll say, okay, if it's working and you come to me at like kind of try to do the whole process in reverse, what are you okay reworking? Because if we start our work, there will be things that we are going to ask you to change, because it's not with the it's not been done with the user in mind. Yes, it's functional, you want this functionality, it will be there, that functionality will be there, but how does the user get to that functionality? Is it you've done it in 10 steps, we can probably reduce the steps to 3. You put something on a page on the left, it may not be needed on the left, it needs to be on the right. So we will actually start with the wireframe first, and we will break down what you have already put together. So I need to understand, are you okay with reworking some things? Sometimes they say, you know what, we've already lost time, I'm not okay with reworking, do the best you can and make it look better. Then it's completely a different scope of work. Then our goal is to, okay, within this structure, how can we give it a UI uplift? If they say, okay, we're okay to rework certain things so that we provide our product a better user experience, then we start with the wireframe, keeping in mind the functionalities that are already existing in this working prototype. So it is difficult, it's not impossible, but then the IT team, the product team needs to be okay with certain rework. That's the main thing. But yeah, it's not your typical process, but it happens a lot of times. I've seen it many times. Clients coming to me with something that's working but not necessarily with UX practices.
Yeah. Yeah. Shivani, you want to add in this? How the
Yeah,
contents then you add in this?
I mean, again, as Nirali mentioned, like if the client is okay with making changes, then there's a lot more flexibility in terms of content as well, right? To be able to like add things that need to be there that aren't, or to rearrange things. But if they're not, then it just becomes a question of what is the language already used? Is it clear enough for the user, or do I need to change what's written and make it easy for the user to understand, make it user-centric? Whether it's a simple error message or a label in a form or whatever it is, if the company is not willing to, take that time to redo everything for, their reasons, then it just becomes about making sure that what is written is communicated in the easiest way possible for the user to understand, and also in a way that is true to the brand's voice.
So actually, that is what we call UX writing, right? In a
Right.
nutshell.
Yes, yes. I think, yes, I think we have covered, I think, almost all points, how you start project, how to build brand, how to content, you have to fix, and how, what is the important role of, both come together. Now coming back to, I think, we'll take some question from audience. So I will request audience to put question on the chat. So end up, we'll take some questions. So my last question is today's, so now you have so much experience now in the branding and content. So how you look in the future, how where we are going as the technology growth is somewhere we are going towards machine learning, artificial intelligence, chatbots. So where people will now expect our product should be somewhere. So how you planning your own company as in a future? So what your strategies and how you futuristic where you see as a both, as a content is growing, as a UX is there nowadays. I think people are talking CX also. So there are a lot of things are around, so because as a designer who is starting their career or in a mid, we call as a mid-age crisis, for career. So they are also get confused. Now I'm 10 years of design. Now what should I do? I should go for content writing. Should I go for a programming, or should I go for, because technology is very much in future is shaping. You are not imagine something what is happening in next few. So definitely, what is your future plans? How your company you are taking forward, and what you are looking in this future.
So our future plan, we've been very adaptive to how technology is changing. For example, we went from pure website design to designing mobile apps. And now what we're open to and would be very exciting is now to take UX to AR, VR user experience, or, even wearable technology. That would be really exciting in terms of the kind of clients that also the other thing that what excites me personally is working. One is the startup ecosystem where they're working on technology and working with UX on that, but two is working with traditional companies. There are a lot of traditional companies doing really well. They're profit making, they've been around for a very long time, and they established businesses, but working with them to apply uh, to work with them to help them digitize their processes. That actually is very exciting, and there's a huge opportunity there to 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 design and build products to automate, to make their life easier more than anything else, because then they're not working with multiple Excel documents and you know uh, invoices, and just reduce paperwork and reduce manual labor for them and try and automate as much as possible. So working on any kind of process management systems for these kind of large corporates who are sort of traditional in that nature. That's very exciting. And as a company, we are looking now, we are already working with clients abroad, but looking to expand in that direction a lot more.
Good. Uh, I think we have a couple of questions. Abhijit is okay. Okay, what he's saying. Okay, basically he knows UX process, and he was just asking, how, like, the surveys, interviews, these processes, basically how it will act in a branding creation process, or it will be the same. So the UX process
So
is basically which you follow in a typical UX. So this process will help in a branding, or these are the different processes.
so the initial few processes are very similar, because UX does cover a lot of what is you do anyway for branding, is understanding the brand, understanding the users, creating personas, which are your customers, for whether it's a physical product or a tech product. So the difference would be how your customers are going to engage, because if it's a physical product that's going to be sold on a shelf, or it's a digital product that needs digital interaction, the engagement will be completely different. So the different part would be in the questions that we ask them is what would be the motivations of a user, what would so getting like asking more specifically questions related to the product, that would be one big uh, difference, I would say, between a branding project, because branding is an overarching strategy that we provide, right? And then when we're designing for a product, it's very specific to that particular tech platform.
Correct. Okay, we have one more question from Ramesh. He's asking, okay, what is the main thing we need to take care if we're redesigning any website?
So the main thing is, I would say, is definitely, understand the business goals, understand what is the main USP for that particular business. How can we different? So again, when we're talking, like I said before, it's not only about design, right? It's about putting the right information out there and then designing it well. So even as a designer, it's very important to understand how can I position this company for whom I'm building a designing a website differently. How can I position them differently? And then then based on the content that comes together, whether you're working with an external content team or you yourself are going to just, provide a wireframe structure, try and think, even as a designer, you should think content. You should think about what kind of content should I put on my website that will give the basics of who they are, what they do, how do they do it, and why should they come to me? Basics. And then the credibility part of, okay, this is who I am. What makes me, what have other people saying, whether it's social proof, whether it's testimonials, whatever it is. So as a designer, also think content, because only if you think content would you be able to even design a page keeping certain conversion factors in mind. Once that is done, then think about, okay, if it's a tech IT company, or if it's a law firm, or it's a food brand, what is the personality? Because how you would design for a food brand would be very different from how you would design for a law firm. So you can't, then what colors are appropriate? So get into the uh, kind of psychology of design. What are the right fonts? What are the right colors? What are the right structures to for this business, for the target audience to take this business seriously? And then you start design. Then you get into the design aspect.
Thanks. I think Ramesh has answered. Okay, we have a question from Sunil. I think his question in two parts. What are your thoughts on personal branding, and what is the difference? What difference does it make during the hiring processes? So I think this
Shivani, want to
is
take that?
Yeah, I mean, so I know there's a lot said about personal branding and whether or not you need one, but I feel like these days, and especially with so much social media out there, everyone has a personal brand, whether they're trying to build it or not. And I think the most important thing that I can say about this, which is also like the cheesiest sounding thing, is just be yourself. Because if you are not, and if you're trying to be somebody else, if you're trying to be someone you think employers are looking for, and you are hired based on that, you're going to be found out very quickly once they realize that this is a facade and that's not who this person is. And if you're going to try and keep up that facade, it's going to be very exhausting. So just be yourself. It may not be right for X company, but it will be right for Y company, and you are going to be happier in any company that hires you for you, who you are and your skills, than for a company that hires you to fit into whatever they think, the mold that they want to put people in. So just be yourself.
okay. I think let's take a couple of last questions, and I think we are good enough to have covered a lot of things. So I think Nitin has some technical question here. So how you define the role of a visual or a graphic in AR/VR project? So what designer needs to learn and explore? I think it's a technical, if you want to answer it.
Yeah, it's a fairly technical, and so far we've not really explored AR. We've engaged with a client, in a very initial stage. But as a designer, we've been taught 2D, right? It's very 2D. It's either whether it's a flat screen or it's a flat piece of paper. We've been learning 2D. So one of the things that we need to start teaching ourselves, if you want to make that shift into the 3D environment, is to think how everything in the environment is going to lend itself to a decision making process. Because if you ever, engage with an AR VR headset or played any game or done any education model, there's a lot going on, right? Then it's actually applying. If your foundation is solid, if your foundation in UX is solid, if your foundation in design is solid, it's taking that to the next level, and then teaching yourself like, okay, now the decision making is not one button here and one button there. There's several things going on
Okay.
around you that should not be distracting from the main purpose, whether, if it's a game or if it's an educational program. What the main thing is the content which is upfront, but what are the peripheral, what is the peripheral, all the peripheral items that should need to be there in this? How can it be placed and designed in a way that it's available for you to take action for the next step, but yet it's not distracting? So the principles are fairly similar. Of course, then you need to start thinking 3D, because then that's how these elements will also be executed.
Yeah, I think correctly said. The core is the same, and as we are talking about user-centered design, so I don't think whether it's a medium, maybe 2D or 3D. So I think purposes need to be solved users' goal. So that thing might be a 2D or 3D, it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's take one of the last question. This is from Nitin. So he's asking about regards, management side. The question is there. So from management perspective, when designing or redesigning a product, is there a method to calculate the ROI, which would make a convince to plan or investing during the UX or right content writing? So basically, it's asking business point of, what are the return on investment we try to use to convince customer. So if you do this, what they will get.
It's very difficult to put a number on that, because there's so many different factors that determine the return of investment. Because I mean, from our point of view, we're a product team, right? After we do our work, there's a marketing team. So if your product is not marketed well, then the return of investment would be different, because then your product is just sitting. So you can't say that, okay, if you do, yeah, you can say that if you engage in good UX, then the conversion would be higher than based on facts, right? There are many tools available to follow a user's journey on a product that you have designed, to say that, okay, if you make this decision, from changing the position of a button, now a user is able to make that decision and take an action faster to go to, for that lead generation to take place, for example. But that necessarily does not mean ROI, right? Because ROI, there's so many different factors that contributes to a return of investment. Then it's up to the sales team to take that leap forward, or it's up to the market. There's so many factors. But at least you can use UX principle to say, okay, you know what? Based on science, based on the research that has already been done, making these changes is going to help the product in a certain way.
Definitely, I think that is a strategy. We have to sit with our customer and we have to plan out. So I think we cover a lot of things today, and hopefully there are, because this domain is a huge, and definitely we will connect again maybe. And as you know, Nirali, we are discussing earlier, one of a conference we are planning, so which is dedicated to women that we are planning. So definitely we will come up with some more detailed topic and something we can touch base. I know you are there in USA, and you are stuck there because of this lockdown and everything. Hopefully you will come back soon and things will be
Yeah,
correct.
waiting for the things to ease up a little bit.
Yeah. So I think thanks everybody for timing their time. Shivani, you also, I think you have covered a lot of good things, and hopefully we are also again connect somewhere. And I think that there are some questions. So please, I will request, you can connect on to LinkedIn or something. So definitely we'll try to answer those questions, because we have to limit. We have some time we have to follow. Yes, definitely. I think again, thanks Nirali, Shivani, for your time.